Hello. Let's try to understand some word problems now. These are based on linear systems, okay? So linear systems, normally you have more than one equation and you need to solve those two equations together simultaneously to get the solution, okay? Now let's go through the problems. Question number 1 says, the coin box of a vending machine contains half as many quarters as dimes. If total value of the coins is $22.50, how many dimes and quarters are there? Okay, you can make a note of these questions, and I'll read out the second question also for you. Question 2 is, Ken has spent $1.95 in nickels and dimes. There are 3 more nickels than dimes. How many of each does he have? Now, make a note of these two questions. Pause the video for the time being. Try to solve them. And I'll go ahead with the solution. And then you can match the solution and understand whether you get it or not, or what were your difficulties, So the video will help you more in that case, okay? Okay, let's go ahead with the solution of question number 1. So let's read it once again. It's always a good practice to read a problem, a word problem especially, a couple of times. A coin box or vending machine contains half as many quarters. So quarters are half. So we have two things here as dimes. So we have quarters. Let's say Q are the quarters and D are the dimes. So you have half as many quarters. That means if you have Q quarters, then how many dimes you have? Twice Q. So what we did actually, we avoided two equations in a way. So how? Let me say. So quarters is as, when we say machine contains half as many quarters as dimes, right? So first equation we could have written as, let the quarters be Q. So that's how you'll define it. Let the dimes be D. Okay. So we could say that. Let me start like that and show you. Let the quarters be Q and dimes be D, right? In numbers, right? Now, so contains half as many quarters. So number of quarters is half of D. So we say Q equals to half of D, right? So this implies that D is equals to 2 times Q, correct? Now, so this is our first equation actually, and from this first equation we converted one variable into another. So that's a very critical step, right? Once you get to know these problems better, you can straight away write translate in one variable also. If Q is the number of quarters, then dime should be 2Q. Now you see quarters are half of dime, correct? But that's a better approach actually. I shouldn't jump to this. Now, if the total value of coins is 2250. Now, first equation we did like this, then we say, well, now we have some quarters and some dimes, and we know how many quarters and how many dimes in one variable, and that is Q for us. So that's my equation number 1, from where I found dimes is 2Q, and therefore now I know that I have Q quarters and 2Q dimes. Now, if you have Q quarters, what is the value of this? Each quarter is 25 cents, correct? So we'll write this value as 0.25 times Q. Is it okay? And each dimes is how much? Each dime is 10 cents. So 10 cents into number of dimes. Number of dimes are how many? 2Q. So it is 0.10 times 2Q. And total value is how much? Total value is $22.50. $22.50. Correct? So you get your linear equation in one variable. Correct? Now, in this case, in general, if you go that way, then how will you write it? You'll say, let the quarters be Q and dimes be D. In that case, quarters equals to half of D, which we got from here, but you could have made second equation here like this. If quarters are Q and dimes are D, then the value will be 0.25 Q plus 0.10 D, and that value is equals to 2250. So that will become your second equation. Is that okay? Now once you get second equation, then you substitute D, which is 2Q, in your second equation, right? And then you will get what I wrote here. Is that okay? So I'm just showing you two methods in parallel. Mainly because it depends how you want to approach it. Correct? You have both the options. Option number one, which I think I will prefer for you if you are in grade 9 and 10. That is, say, let the quarters be Q and dimes be D. And then in that case, the first statement says, vending machine contains half as many quarters as dimes. So Q is half as many dimes. Right? Now from this equation, you get dimes as 2 times Q. Now the second question is, total value of the coins is 2250. Total value will be how many? Quarters should be multiplied by 25 and number of dimes should be multiplied by 10 cents. So cents. So 0.25 gives me 25 cents times quarter plus 10 cents by dimes give me $22.50. Now here we got two variables. It's very difficult to solve equation with two variables and one equation. So we take help of the second equation. The second equation said D is 2Q. So we substitute D as 2Q in our first equation, the second equation in this case, and we get our final equation to solve. And the final equation looks like this: 0.25Q plus 10 cents 2Q, right? Because D is 2Q equals to 2250. Now you have to solve it. I have seen that some students find it very difficult to solve with decimal numbers. Right? So what I will prefer is, if it is so difficult for you to solve with decimal numbers, get rid of decimal numbers. Get rid of decimal numbers, right? So how are you going to get rid of decimal numbers here? Multiply by 100, correct? If you multiply everything by 100, both sides, equality doesn't change. It's still equal, right? So we are taking times 100 this side, times 100 that side. So equality remains, right? When you do 100 times this, you actually get 25Q plus 10 times 2, 20Q equals to 2250. Do you see that? So we got rid of decimals. This is a good step to do, right? And when you add 25 and 20, you get 45Q equals to 2250. Is it okay? And therefore Q is equals to 2250 divided by 45. Correct? You could simplify it directly or use a calculator. Now, using calculator, I will see 2250 divided by 45 is equal to 50. So we get 50 here. Correct? So number of Q is 50. So if quarters are 50, how many are dimes? So dimes should be from here. If quarters, dimes is 2 times Q, right? So we get dimes is equals to 2 times 50, which is equals to 100 dimes, correct? So we get 100 dimes and 50 quarters. Now it is a good idea to check your answer. Once you get your answer, check your answer. Now what I'm trying to show you is an approach to solve problems. I'm not really solving and giving you a solution of a problem. I'm trying to show you an approach to solving problems so that anytime you get any coin problem, you should be in a position to solve it, right? Now, number of quarters are 50. So 50 times 25 cents, 50 times 25 cents, let me write 25 cents, right? Quarters, right? You just do 1/4, right? 1/4 of 50 plus 100 times 10 cents, 100 times 10 cents, right? Check, is it equals to 2250? Okay, 10 cents is $10, right? And this is how many? This is half of half, quarter, right? Half is 25 and half of half is 1250. So 1250 plus 10 is 2250, and that's how you get your answer. So this is mental maths. You don't really have to again and again pick up your calculator and do the calculation. You could do it like I did, right? Think 25 as a quarter, right? It is a quarter. You call it a quarter. So quarter of 50 is, half is 25 and quarter is 12.50, correct? And 10 times this, you move the decimal 2 places, you get 10, right? And you get 2250. Is it okay? $22.50, which is correct. I will show you here without calculator how you could have got 50. You see this? I'm doing it here again for you. 2250 divided by 45. Both you can divide by 5 because the numbers are ending with 0 and 5. So if you divide by 5, you get 9 times 45, right? 5 times 4 is 20, right? You are left with 2, 25, 5 times 5 and then a 0, right? And you know 9 goes into 45. How many times? 5 times. So it is 50. Do you see that? So you go this and you get 50. So even without calculator, we could have found this answer. Correct? Now, let me make you understand how we approached this problem and how we did it. And we followed two different approaches here. First, writing down two equations, because it's a linear system, right? We have two basic equations. Let me go the first route this way. So, it says, the coin box of a vending machine contains half as many quarters as dimes. So let Q be the number of quarters and D be the number of dimes. In that case, the relation between quarters and dimes is that quarters are equal to half of dimes. And from here, we get how many dimes are there. That means dimes is 2 times quarters, right? So dimes is 2 times quarters, right? So we got one equation saying dimes is 2 times quarters. Now first condition gave us first equation, and the second condition is if total value of the coins is $22.50, how many dimes and quarters are there? Total value, how do you find value? If there are quarters Q, then what is the value of that quarter? Times 25 cents, because each quarter is worth 25 cents, right? So the value of our money is 25 cents into Q plus 10 cents into dimes, as many dimes, right? Okay, now this is our second equation, and this is equal to $22.50. Makes sense, right? Correct. Now, here we have two variables. You can't solve an equation with two variables, so you need help of the second one, right? Which is our first one. So from here, dimes is 2Q, we substitute 2Q in D, right? And get our final equation to solve. So, 25Q plus 10, and instead of D, I am writing 2Q. Do you see the simultaneous equations we are working with? Okay, equals 2250. This equation is in one variable, and now a simple solution given in black here. It says 25Q, 20Q, and 2250. What did we go from moving from here to here? We did a great thing, avoiding decimals. Sometimes we avoid fractions by multiplying by the same number, which is lowest common denominator. Now in this case, we'll multiply by 100 because there are two places after decimal everywhere, right? So we multiply by 100 and get our equation in whole numbers. Now once we get that, it's much simpler to see and solve, right? And we get Q equals to 50. And now we know number of quarters are 50 and the dimes are twice as many number of quarters, and therefore they should be 100, right? 2 times 50. It's always a good idea to check your answer. So we know 50 quarters and 100 dimes. How much money do we make? So 50 into 25 cents, which is quarter, so 1/4 of 50. 1/4 of 50 is 12.50. And 100 into 10, which is just $10. Oh, I wrote one here. So see, I make mistakes because I just run away. So fast, things move in my hand that I'm not able to put them down on paper. So when you add them, it goes to 2250, which is correct. So I hope you understand the solution of the first problem. Now, let's look into the second question, okay? Let's look into question number 2. It says what? Ken has $1.95 in nickels and dimes. So the nickels is worth 5 cents, dime is worth 10 cents. There are 3 more nickels than dimes. So we'll write two equations again, and this time let the number of nickels be N and let the number of dimes be D, correct? That is what, I'm not writing all this in, I'm not telling you how to do it. There are 3 more nickels than dimes. So how many nickels are there? Nickels are 3 more than dimes. So nickels equals to dimes plus 3. Is that okay? Is that okay? So this is the relation between number of nickels and dimes. So my first statement is the let statement. I'll say let the number of nickels be N and number of dimes be D. Then I go to, there are 3 more nickels than dimes. So nickels equals to dimes plus 3. Now second equation we'll get from here. Ken has this much in nickels and dimes. So what is it worth? Nickel is worth 5 cents. So the value will be 0.05 nickel plus dime is worth 10 cents. 0.10 dime is equals to 1.95. So that is my value of money which I have in nickels and dimes, and it is worth $1 95 cents. Okay, I've given this in green, my first two equations. Now I will use these two equations to solve simultaneously and get my answer. So what is, this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. So I have to eliminate my variables. In this case, I can eliminate n by writing n equals to d plus 3. So I'll do that. So I'll say 0.05 times n is d plus 3, right? D plus 3 plus 0.10 dime is equal to 1.95. Is it okay? Now, I would like to leave it here. It is a simple equation in one variable, and that is number of dimes. So what you need to do is, as I said, you could multiply by 100, get rid of decimals, and then solve. Is that okay? Or should we solve it for you? Okay, doesn't matter. So many dimes and so many dimes, or shall we do with decimals? We can do either way. So let me quickly do it for you. So let me first multiply by 100 and get rid of decimals. Okay, so we get what? Let me start from here. So we get 5 times d plus 3 plus, this is 10, right? Times d is equals to 195. So 5d and 10d is 15d, and 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, let me write like this. 5d plus 15 plus 10d equals to 195. And now here 5d and 10d is 15d. So I write 15d plus 15 equals to 195, correct? So 15d is equals to 195 minus 15, which is how much? 195 minus 15. 5 take away 5 is 0, 9 take away 1 is 8, and 180, correct? And which implies d is equals to how much? 180 divided by 15. So can you divide? Yes, I'll show you dividing without using calculator. You can divide both by 5 and 3. So your choice. You can do 5 times 3, 15, and 5 times 3 is 15, you're left with 30. You get 6, and then you divide by this, you get 3 times 1 is 3, and when you divide 36 by 3, you get 12. So this is equal to 12. So if there are 12 dimes, how many nickels are there? Nickels are 12 plus 3. So we get nickels equals to 12 plus 3, which is 15. So the answer is what? How many of each does he have? So you can write down answer in a word problem. You should surely write answer in words, okay? So we get answer is there are how many nickels? 15 nickels and 12 dimes. Is that okay? You should always check the value. Do you get $1.95 or not? Correct? But I hope you understand how to do the problems involving coins now. Correct? Pick up some problems from the books. You know, there are so many problems all over the place on the internet. Try to do them. I hope you appreciate the method I have used, right? Try to use the methods, different types of methods, but most important is first, always define your variables. See, we define variables and use variable names which are relevant. Using Q for quarters, D for dimes, and N for nickels is critical. Then you don't have to really, go back and forth, find what is X, what is Y. X and Y are generally good variables, but I prefer to use relevant variables, right? Variables should normally be small letter, lowercase, but uppercase is also okay. So it is as per your convenience, right? But important thing is relevance of a variable with the word problem. So N for nickel, D for dimes, and Q for quarters was a very good choice. Correct? And here get your two equations. First and second, two statements, two equations. Write one variable in terms of the other, substitute in the second equation, solve for the variable. Once you get one variable, substitute back that variable into the equation and get the value of the previous value, the other variable. Don't forget that. because questions normally ask for both the variables, correct? I hope you understand and appreciate the method. If there are any problems or you want to discuss something, please do put your comments, right? I'll highly appreciate and get back to you. Thank you. Have a good day.